guys, how's it going? So today we've got a couple of projects that I would like to tackle and hopefully finish. First one is in this new flower bed that we created on the east side of our barn. We just cleaned the annuals out of it. Today we're going to plant 600 tulips in here, and I think they're going to be beautiful. It's going to be a mix of two different varieties. So there's one called Bella Blush, which is a soft pink, and Best Purple, which is a purple color. And I think that mixed together, it's going to be so gorgeous. And then the second thing I would like to do is clean out the bed in front of the chicken coop. So this one is Russell looking nice and tidy, and I think 600 bulbs in here. Oh, it's going to be so striking and so gorgeous. I think my approach is going to be to use my auger and dig holes all along the back, like one line, and then all along the front, and then I'm just going to start randomly popping holes in the center so that I can hopefully get everything even as I can. And you know, 600 bulbs, that's a lot of bulbs, but you can really pack a lot of bulbs in a small amount of space. So I'm hoping, I think it'll be beautiful and impactful, but the spacing thing, I'm hoping I get that right. And then in the way of cleanup, I want to clean this container out minus the grass. Look at this. They've had it. A little bit of color still, but they're done. I'd like to clean up the daylilies here, which are completely flat. I don't know what went on there. Clean out the window box, as well as the dahlias and lemon coral up front here. It does look like Paul's right in the middle of a chicken run clean out as well. He's got the birch branches out here, and he comes in here. The chickens are out somewhere. They're running around. Anyway, he comes in and does a big clean out every once in a while. And then I've got some flats of kale here, which, you know what? They got aphids. They were not looking very good. So I've just been popping them out of their containers, and I just throw them into the chicken run when they're in there, and they love to mess with them. They eat the tops and like completely tear apart the root ball. So that is the order of today. The first thing we need to do though is go in here, and we've got to find our bulbs in this stack. Of course, there are none of the crates on the top or any of the visible signs that I can see. So we're just going to have to figure it out. They're in here somewhere. Okay, no, not this one. Best Purple down here. Awesome. That looks to be 300 Best Purples, which is exactly what I need. And then what's below them? Oh, Bella Blush, they put them all in the same crate. Awesome. Oh, that's heavy. Russell, what are you doing in here? All right. Best Purple, Best Purple, Best Purple. Bella Blush. Okay, I need to grab my auger. I'm going to be using the 3-inch auger. You guys, Paul just did a reorganize in here and has it to where all of our augers stay on drills at all times, which is so amazing. It's been such a handy thing. So I can just come in and grab my auger, grab a couple batteries. 2. I've got my bulb tone right here, and that's all we're gonna need for this first project. So let's take a look at these bulbs real quick. I might be able to go down to a 2-inch. We'll see. Hold on. Yeah, these are really nice. Let's see how these compare to the 2-inch auger. You know what? I might try it. Those would be a lot cleaner holes. The biggest problem, not that it's a problem, but the biggest thing I run across when I am planting bulbs in a close quarters is that when I dig holes with the auger and then I dig the hole next to it, if it's too close, it'll kick a bunch of soil back into the hole that I just dug. So it kind of makes a little bit more of a mess of things. So if I can make my holes a littler size, I think that might avoid that problem. I typically use the 3-inch auger though for most bulb planting. Like the other day when we planted the summer snowflakes around the pond. All right, here we go. Another couple of things that I made sure of when I was choosing what bulbs to put in this flower bed, I wanted them to be blooming at roughly the same time so that the show would be, you know, extra spectacular. So both of these varieties of tulips bloom mid-season, and they're roughly the same height too. I wanted to be able to plant them and sort of have a similar height instead of having to worry about putting shorter ones to the front, if that makes sense. So like our Bella Blush is a 22 to 24 incher. While the Best Purple is 20 to 22 inches. So there's not gonna be very much difference. There'll be a little bit to where there's a little variation, but not enough to where you won't be able to see, you know, one of the varieties because they'll be masked by the others. So my approach is the same whenever I plant bulbs. I dig all the holes, we'll toss some bulb tone in, and then I toss the bulbs in, and I can do all of those things standing, which is fantastic. And then the last step is to actually get down on the ground, make sure the bulbs are pointed the right direction, pointy side up, and then I cover them over with soil. So it's pretty easy. So let's get it done. right, we are 100 holes in. I just wanted to show you what it's looking like so far because I did the exterior first, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and just plant these first. So that way I'm not, stepping all over fluffy dirt and making it harder to put back in the holes. So I started right here and did my line. It's kind of straight. It doesn't really matter. You do have to imagine, like right now you might think like, oh, well, these hydrangeas are gonna get bigger. They're gonna get in the way of these. But when these tulips are blooming, these are gonna be barely like starting to leaf out in the spring. So this will be perfect. And I don't really expect tulips to last for too many years. So anyway, we've got the line on the back and then the line that kind of goes right behind the boxwoods there. So I'm going to go ahead in with the bulb tone, and I'm going to go every other hole with the bulbs, and then we're going to come in and do the same exact thing. We're just going to pop in, go back, around, plant, back, around, and plant. Very systematic of us. Sometimes that makes it easier. Just finished planting the second row in, and there are 3 things I want to mention. First off, the planting depth. I'm not sure I mentioned that before. 6 inches deep. The second thing, and one of the reasons that I usually don't use the 2-inch auger, I just remembered because I'm having to deal with it here. It does make for a nice, clean, easy to dig hole, but if your tulip bulb or whatever bulb you have goes in upside down, it is really hard to reach in there and tip them upright. That's why I have a little shovel out here, because I can get down in there. Where did I put it? This right here. I can slide this down in the hole and kind of like twist the tulip bulb so it goes straight upright. So by the time I was, into the second row, I decided just to pop the tulip bulbs right next to the hole instead of trying to throw them into the hole. If you use a 3-inch size auger, there's no issue getting your fingers down in there and tipping the bulb upright. And I've seen a lot of people say it doesn't matter which way your tulip bulb goes in the ground, like it'll still find its way to the top. And while that can be true, especially if the tulip bulbs go in on their side, they have an easy time finding their way up. but from experience, if they are upside down, they have a hard time coming up. At least in our soil, in our circumstances here, we had one year where a lot of them got planted inadvertently upside down and they just did not perform the next year, not very well. So I personally like to take the time to make sure they're pointed the right direction. I mean, we're going to all the work and effort of doing it. They may as well be planted properly. And the third thing I decided to do is, as I was planting, I made a little line in the soil right next to the planting line so that when I went in to dig this third row in, I wouldn't accidentally run into the row right before it. I didn't run into any bulbs, thankfully, but I was worried the whole time that I was going to. So now that I have a little guide, I know exactly where I need to dig my holes. And we've already got 200 bulbs in the ground. Hopefully we can make these last 400 stretch. I was thinking the whole time, if we end up with like a little island in the center where we don't have enough of these bulbs, I could toss some, what kind do I have? I have one that's a little bit taller than all the rest, but I think it might bloom later in the season. Blushing Lady. So they're a really pale yellow, which would look beautiful with the pink and purple, but I do have those allotted for a different spot. So even if I don't use those, I can run down to my parents' garden center and pick out something that blooms mid-season that's taller than the rest of these, or maybe that's just about the same height and we'll just fill in the middle with that. I'm totally fine with that. Be also pretty to have like a big section of white tulips right in the center. We are done. It looks the same as when we started, but there are now 600 bulbs underneath the soil waiting for spring. It's going to be so beautiful. I cannot wait. And somehow we ended up with exactly the right amount of bulbs. I did space them a little bit further than what's recommended. I think the tag said 3 to 4 inches. Yeah, it says 3 to 4 inches apart on here. And I think they range from like 3 to 6 inches apart in this area. So we're pretty dang close. I don't think you'll even be able to tell the spacing once they're up and blooming, but it's just going to be a spectacular show in the spring. Now, I don't have as much experience with the Bella Blush, but the Best Purple, I have had decent luck with it coming back from year to year. Like I mentioned before, a lot of tulips just don't naturalize as well as others, like daffodils come back beautifully every year. The summer snowflakes that we just planted over here come back beautifully. Tulips are just one of those that if you land on a good variety, like keep planting that variety if they keep returning for you, because a lot of them, especially doubles, don't tend to return as consistently. So now I just need to empty out the back of the gator so we have room to start the clean out in front of the chicken coop. All right, so we're gonna take after this flower bed. It's gonna look a lot more tidy after we're done. And you'll see Paul in and out of the background. You can see he's putting up the plexi sides that we have, the little windows. So we put these up for the winter time in all these little spots right here. This is the west side of the coop, so it just keeps the wind, like the prevailing wind, from blowing stuff in here and keeps the draft off the chickens. And then we also put pieces on these sides right here. And you guys, chickens, they're a tough one. They don't need all of the pampering and all of the extra protection for cold. However, they do like protection from drafts, but we kind of go to extra lengths because it makes me feel better. And as far as heat goes, the only thing we use is a little heat plate. You can get like safe heat plate things. I'll show you what it looks like. And it just takes the edge off underneath where they roost. So if we come in here, they all roost on this log right here. They line up. It's so cute. So we have this little heat plate. We don't have it plugged in yet or on yet. It's plugged in. It's not on. And we put it right underneath where they roost so that it keeps their feet warm. Wow. It's awesome, baby.
There's like 7 in there.
Cool. Okay, let's clean this out. Oh my goodness, does that ever look different? Oh, I forgot those bricks were under there. The lemon coral sedum had crawled way out, and of course the dahlias were on top of those. And I had salvia back in there and a purple fountain grass. I also have 3 Invincible Ruby hydrangeas, which all still have life in them, but they were a little scraggly, probably because they weren't getting enough light. So I cut them all back, and I think next year, I don't know, I think next year I might go for perennials. I might start in on perennials in here and not do annuals. I either need to do that or I need to dedicate the whole thing to annuals. But we've got a few sedum left and a lavender. Cleaned up the daylilies here, cleaned out the window box, which I'm going to leave this because I want to do a winter something in here. But I do have a few pansies. I think we'll go grab just to finish this little pot up since it already has a grass in it. I think that would look nice. I also took after this rose. It had a whole bunch of arms, kind of like the other one on the other side that we just trimmed back. I cut all of that back, except for up here. I need to get the right stuff to train. There's like 2 branches that I'd like to train over. So I'll do that in another time. But that's our take from this flower bed. So I'm gonna go get rid of this and pick up the pansies so we can finish up. And you guys, while we were working on this, Aaron was mowing up a bunch of leaves in the lawn, and I think he filmed it. So we'll pop that at the end of the video, but let's go get the pansies. Okay, I've got the pansies, and you guys, we were sent these. They are the most gorgeous things. They arrived in the roughest shape though. Oh my goodness, like we've had to rebound them a bit. And this is the name of them, Pansy Elegance Twilight Collection. And oh my gosh, they're like the fluffiest, most gorgeous things ever. But if you pull these apart, like this one might look okay, kinda. If you pull them apart, they look a little bit rough. So my plan is just to jam as many of them as I can because I want to use them. I think it was so nice. It's always so nice when we get sent things like this. I love to try out new varieties and show you guys these gorgeous things. So, oh, I think this one might be my favorite. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Anyway, let's get these in the pot. Look at that, you guys. Look at how beautiful these are. I think spending a few weeks in our high tunnel did help recuperate them a little bit, but I was able to fit every last one in this pot. They weren't super well rooted, which might be one of the reasons why they looked a little bit sad when they arrived, but it made them very malleable and easy to squeeze together. And since we're so late in the season, you know, I'm not expecting a tremendous amount of growth on these anyway. I'm just happy to use them in here. I think this is probably my favorite pansy we have out here. Look at that, it's so beautiful. And I don't know anything about this line, like if they're brand new or anything like that. So I hope that we see a lot more of them and that we're able to order some. Look at that, it's just so gorgeous. Almost looks like a, what are those things that live in the sea that have like the little ripples like that? Anyway, I just love it. And there's our molting hen over there. The rest of them are around. I don't know what they're doing. Probably like, where are all of our plants that we were ripping apart? There's another girl. The whole area just looks tidy, clean. The run is all prepped and ready to go for winter. That's always super nice. Paul was showing me that one of our pieces of plexi, or 2 of our pieces of plexi, I guess, they've lasted for more than 6 years, 7 years. I can't remember how long we've had all of these panels. Maybe it's been 8 years. I don't know. We've got a lot of use out of them. But the 2 that were right here, they actually sustain a little bit more damage earlier on, actually, before the roses were big like this. Now that this rose is this big, even when it loses its leaves, it does provide a little bit of protection from the wind. But before, they didn't really have any protection. And this gets the southwest sort of wind. And so they were getting cracked right here, and we'd been limping them along for a little while, but we decided like it's time to replace these 2 panels. And as far as the air goes in here, there's a about 5-6 inch section up above the whole run. You can kind of see it. I don't know if you can see it very easily in here. See, there's a clear plexi roof, and then right here in between the roof and this piece of wood, there's like 6 inches, and it's actually open. We do have a piece of hardware cloth though, plugging up the hole so that little birds can't get in here, but it's got lots of airflow. So in the winter, it's really nice. We can close up this window, we keep this door shut. I plug up, there's a little hole in the door right there that I plug up, but it stays draft free in here for the most part. And in the summertime, all the stuff can stay open. And of course, all the walls are open. It's all clean in here, girls. What a productive day, you guys. 600 bulbs done, checked off the list. Oh, we have a lot more to go, but that's a tremendous amount. I feel really good about that. And then the cleanup is awesome. Getting some pansies in, making that planter look a little bit more, I don't know, clean. Looks nice. And then the leaf cleanup, which is what we're gonna leave you with. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.